Jack had seen a lot in his years as a firefighter: flames, loss, even the final goodbyes whispered through smoke. But nothing prepared him for what he saw that humid afternoon at the market. He was just a man trying to pick up some apples for his son, blending into the bustle of a sleepy southern town. Then he saw them, two little girls, identical as the morning sun, sitting on a frayed blanket near a stall. They weren't playing. They weren't smiling. They just sat there, legs crossed, eyes wide and hollow. Beside them stood a woman shouting prices like a vendor. But she wasn't selling fruit. She was selling them. A sign scrawled in red marker said, "Adoption. Small fee." Jack stopped, stunned. For a moment, the sounds of the market, laughter, footsteps, music, faded into silence. His breath caught in his chest. He looked at the girls again. One clutched a small stuffed rabbit. The other had her hands clasped tightly in her lap, like if she let go, she might fall apart. "Are they yours?" Jack heard himself ask, though he already knew the answer. "They're my husband's kids," the woman shrugged. He passed. "I can't keep them." "You want both?" "Discount." Jack felt something shift inside him. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the same courage that once made him run into burning buildings. But he knew, without reason or plan, he couldn't walk away. Not from them. He reached for his wallet with shaking hands. He didn't know their names. Didn't know their story. But in that moment, Jack made a silent vow: whatever their past, he would be their future. Jack stepped closer, every instinct screaming that something was wrong. The woman barely looked at him. Her tone was flat, cold, like she was talking about old furniture she no longer needed. "Their dad died last year. I didn't sign up for 2 extra mouths to feed," she said, shrugging as if the little girls beside her weren't even listening. But they were. Jack saw it in the way their small shoulders tensed, how they didn't dare meet anyone's gaze. One girl clutched the edge of her dress, the other stared straight ahead, eyes glassy. Jack recognized that look. He'd seen it on people pulled from wreckage, shock mixed with the quiet hope someone might finally care. A family passed by, looked briefly, then kept walking. No one stopped. No one spoke. Jack felt anger rise in his chest, not just at the woman, but at the world. How could this be happening in broad daylight, and nobody noticed? Nobody cared. He didn't know if this was legal. He didn't care. What he saw wasn't a transaction. It was a rescue. "How much?" he asked quietly, voice low and tight. The woman named a number. It wasn't much. It made him sick how little she valued them. He pulled out the bills with trembling fingers and handed them over. No paperwork. No formality. Just a look exchanged, and it was done. The girls didn't move. They didn't smile. But when Jack held out his hands, one of them reached up, hesitantly, like she wasn't sure it was real. The other followed, silent as a shadow. Jack didn't know what lay ahead. He only knew this: he was walking away with 2 frightened hearts in need of a home. And he would spend the rest of his life proving they were worth far more than a small fee. The house, once filled only with the quiet hum of the refrigerator and Jack's footsteps, now echoed with a different kind of silence, heavy, cautious, broken only by the sound of small feet moving like whispers through the halls. The girls didn't speak. Not to Jack, not to each other. They sat at the dinner table with wide eyes and tiny bites. When he knelt to give them hugs, they stiffened. When he tucked them in, they stared at the ceiling until sleep finally found them. But Jack didn't give up. Every morning, he made pancakes in the shape of hearts or animals. Every night, he read stories. About brave princesses, about safe forests, about families that stayed. He left the hallway light on, just in case. And though they never said a word, he could feel something shifting. A little less fear. A little more trust. Then one morning, Jack shuffled into the kitchen, still groggy, expecting silence. But something stopped him. Taped to the fridge was a drawing. A crayon sketch in wild colors, him, with his scruffy beard and old flannel shirt, holding the hands of two smiling girls. Above their heads, a wobbly rainbow. Below, written in blocky, careful letters, "You're our hero, Daddy." Jack stared at it, his breath caught in his throat. The kind of tears that don't make noise filled his eyes and rolled down his cheeks. It wasn't just a picture. It was a breakthrough. A whisper from two little souls that maybe, just maybe, they were starting to feel safe. He reached out and touched the paper like it might disappear. For the first time in a long time, the silence in the house didn't feel empty. It felt like hope. The school auditorium buzzed with chatter and camera clicks, parents shifting in their seats, waiting to see their children take the stage. Jack sat in the back, his hands clasped tightly in his lap, heart thudding louder than the noise around him. His girls, were about to sing. Just months ago, they wouldn't even speak. When their names were called, the room grew quiet. The twins walked on stage in matching blue dresses, nervous but holding each other's hands. A soft piano track began. Their voices, delicate but clear, wove through the still air like thread through fabric. The song was simple, about finding a place where love lived, where hugs were warm and light stayed on, where home didn't mean walls, but hearts. Jack felt something inside him crack open. His eyes welled up. He wasn't the only one. As the last note lingered, the room erupted in applause. But beside Jack, a woman stayed quiet. She turned to him, eyes red but kind. "You're their father?" she asked. Jack nodded, too moved to speak. She placed a trembling hand on his arm. "They just saved my life." He looked at her, confused. "My daughter passed last year," she whispered. "I haven't felt anything since. But when they sang, I don't know. I felt her again. Just for a moment." Jack didn't know what to say. But he knew what it meant. His girls, once discarded, once silent, were healing more than just themselves. That night, driving home, they sang the song again from the back seat. Off-key. Giggles in between. And Jack smiled, knowing this was more than music. This was the sound of life returning, not just to them, but to everyone lucky enough to hear. The years passed quietly, like pages turning in a well-loved book. Jack aged, his beard grayer, his steps slower, but his heart had never felt fuller. On warm evenings, he'd sit on the porch with a glass of iced tea and watch the girls he once found in silence now fill the air with laughter. They danced barefoot in the yard, shared secrets on the swing, and called out, "Love you, Dad," like it was the most natural thing in the world. They were teenagers now, bold, bright, full of fire and grace. Honor roll students, soccer stars, and budding musicians. But more than that, they were kind. Empathetic. Whole. And every time Jack looked at them, a quiet voice inside whispered, they weren't the only ones who were saved. He once believed he was the rescuer, the man who showed up just in time. But the truth revealed itself slowly, like the sun rising after a long night. It was they who saved him. The lonely man who had spent years grieving his own quiet losses, his failed marriage, the distance from his grown son, the heavy echoes of all the lives he couldn't save in the line of duty. The girls didn't heal him with grand gestures. They did it with crayon drawings and awkward hugs. With whispered goodnights and songs sung slightly off-key. With their quiet presence beside him at the breakfast table. Jack smiled as he watched them from the porch, the wind tugging at their hair. Sometimes, miracles don't come crashing in like fireworks. Sometimes, they arrive in whispers, in broken hearts that learn how to beat again. In tiny hands that reach for yours in the dark, and never let go.